Good evening. Welcome. How are you, Natalie?
I'm good and you. Technically, I'm probably really supposed to be here at 6 o'clock.
Oh, okay. Um, are you interested in the East, Middle, and Outer? Is that
Yes,
why you're saying you should be here at 6? Okay.
correct.
Well, that's fine. If you would like me to go through the presentation for West Outer, I'm happy to do that.
Well, maybe should I just log back in at 6 or for that part of it?
Sure, if that's your preference, absolutely, because we won't be discussing it until 6 o'clock. This current
Okay,
session is for West Outer.
okay. I'll log back in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Good evening, Eva. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
Just want to make sure you're here for the West Outer Community Area Plan.
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Tolu Ibikunle, and I'm representing the Planning Department. And I'm going to go ahead and just jump right in for the sake of time and share my screen. Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so thank you again for joining. Tonight, I will walk you through the West Outer Community Area Plan and discuss how it may impact you and your community. If there are no questions at this time, I can go ahead and just begin with a brief overview of the document, and then I'll open it up for discussion. Are there any other initial questions that you have so far?
Nope. I just figured I thought I'd mention that someone else has joined us, so it's not just me that you're
Okay.
presenting
This
to.
is a small group. Oh
Y
my goodness.
yes, it is. Hello, hello,
Wow.
welcome.
Well,
Thank you for
thank you.
joining us. Again, my name is Tolu Ibikunle. I represent the planning department. And tonight we are discussing for this hour from 5 to 6. We do have a hard stop at 6 o'clock to transition to the other community area plan. But this hour we're discussing the West Outer Community Area Plan. And I'm just going to jump right into the presentation. It's just a quick overview of what it's about and how it will impact your community. Ms. Gray, I just want to confirm, can you see my screen, the presentation?
I can see it very well.
Great. Okay. So the reason why we are developing community area plans is because Charlotte has been continuously growing for decades, and that population projection is expected to continue to grow. So in response to that projected growth, our city adopted the Charlotte Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan in 2021, which defines our 20-year vision for growth and change in Charlotte. The plan essentially calls for future growth and to ensure that it's benefiting as many people as possible. While the comprehensive plan does provide the broader vision for our community, there are other levels of guidance needed to make sure our vision comes to life. This is the planning framework adopted within the comprehensive plan, and it identifies the subsequent levels of guidance needed. Level 2 strategic plans are citywide documents that provide more details than the comprehensive plan on a particular topic. For example, the Strategic Mobility Plan, or SMP, provides more guidance on how to realize Goal 5, which is creating safe and equitable mobility choices. Now, level 3 is a little different. Level 3 is the community area plans, which is what we're discussing this evening. Community area plans provide more guidance for appropriate land uses, building form, and infrastructure needed throughout the plan geography. Level 4, specific plans, focuses on smaller geographies and provides more guidance for the implementation of specific projects. It's important to note that levels 2 through 4, all build upon the vision and goals outlined in the comprehensive plan. In essence, community area plans are about creating complete communities, which means creating places that integrates housing, job opportunities, daily goods in an accessible manner. In other words, making sure that where we live, work, and play is an environment that we all want to live in. Community area plans have been developed within a 5-phase process. That's occurred over the last 2 years. Staff offered multiple engagement opportunities in each phase, and the outcomes of each phase have been shared along the way. This slide summarizes engagement efforts from phase 1 through phase 4 of the effort and process. We've reached over 400,000 residents, both online and in person, using a range of constant and coordinated tactics. This includes elements such as social media posts, our website, and all the online interactive content we produce, such as story maps and videos. Now, community area plans have been developed in a systematic process, meaning it's been developed in the same way and will have the same components and format within all 14 area plans. Even though the plans were developed systematically, each plan includes both unique content that reflects the individual character of that geography, as well as some new common policy guidance that helps achieve our vision. These plans provide a common set of considerations for all decision makers to ensure we're consistently evaluating development proposals and options that are in line with our city's vision. Over time, these considerations will help ensure that growth is accommodated in a way that respects established neighborhoods, aligns growth with our infrastructure capacity, and creates vibrant mixed-use centers for all. This table of contents here within the West Outer Community Area Plan, and now as you look at it and look at the other plans when you're comparing and contrasting, you'll see that the same content and organization is mentioned as I mentioned in the last slide. So I will keep the table of contents visible on each slide for tracking purposes so you see where we are. Now, just for making sure that we're all on the same page as far as where we consider West Outer geography, it's roughly bounded by Charlotte city limits to the north, Interstate 485, and Charlotte Douglas International Airport to the east, Shopton Road to the south, and the Catawba River to the west. And on the slide, it's outlined here in blue. Each plan begins with an overview of the area's profile, including a summary of projected residential units and new jobs, as well as a comparison of local demographics to citywide demographics. The next chapter outlines the geography's greatest needs and prioritized goals. The needs are focused on increasing access to employment opportunities, access to housing options, and daily goods and services, and reducing environmental impacts. The plans focused on these 4 needs because these are metrics identified in the comprehensive plan as paramount for ensuring future growth benefits as many people as possible. Chapter 4 focuses on the recommended development pattern for the geography through the 2040 policy map. And so what I have here on the slide is the zoomed in version for the West Outer geography depicting the 2040 policy map. The colors in the map relate to the types and intensity of development that is appropriate in the area. To learn more about the colors, please feel free to look at the place type descriptions in the appendix. Now, it's important to note that the plans recommend a large portion of the geography, excuse me, to remain as is, meaning if redevelopment occurs in these areas, okay, sorry about that. If redevelopment occurs in these areas like neighborhood one, and so when I'm referring to neighborhood one, do you see all of this light yellow here on the map? Okay, so neighborhood one is more of your traditional single family neighborhoods that's low residential. And that any new development is expected to basically match that that level of intensity that you would see in the existing neighborhood one areas.
Can I make just a comment now?
Sure, absolutely.
Because what we're seeing a lot of is like 4 or 5 homes being bought and then condos being built up. So when we're seeing this rezoning, I'm seeing big developments coming up where residential family homes are right now.
Yes, and so there are a number of tools that we utilize in our toolbox. Now, the comprehensive plan is what I've mentioned. I've also mentioned the 2040 map, which is listed here on the slide. And then we have the Unified Development Ordinance, or UDO. That is basically the regulatory tool that enforces the 2040 policy map. And the idea is for the UDO, the regulatory piece, to align with the 2040 map. So, in essence, whatever is being built or permitted in the UDO, the hope is that there would be alignment in that. And so, in the future, that is something that I know the city is undergoing, which is something called alignment rezoning. And if you have additional questions related to that, I can certainly put that, capture that information and make sure that our alignment rezoning team reaches out to you.
Yeah, well, and I've been to like this is maybe my fifth or sixth meeting, but I know they told us to look at those zoning boards. You know, you'll see that, and we've got lots of them, like
Hmm.
all over the place. We're getting rezoned,
Hmm.
and I just it seems like this is not in alignment with a light yellow
And in
single
those,
family home.
yes, please
So that
continue.
is
I'm
like a
sorry.
future intention because we are still seeing a lot of that.
So the policy map is a snapshot of it's a combination of aspirations, how we want to grow and develop, and
Hmm.
a lot of it is based on the current entitlements. So when I say entitlements, I'm talking about the current zoning districts. So for example, if there's an area where perhaps a developer, to your point, you mentioned those big yellow rezoning signs and you see them everywhere. I am glad that you see them because that is your opportunity as a resident, as a stakeholder to um, go to those public hearings because when you see those rezoning signs, it means that there will be a public hearing for that particular case, and you honestly can go and express any concerns that you have. So to your point, if you are concerned that perhaps the rezoning is for a multifamily development, and the policy map shows that it should be neighborhood one, and therefore it is inconsistent with what the city's vision is. As a resident, you have every right to go before city council during the public hearing, and you have to sign up and comply with the city council public hearing rules. But you can say that, and it would be public record.
Okay, and is there like I know I can drive down the road and write down the zone numbers and stuff, but do you have like an address I can go to say to just look in my area and see what those different um zoning requests are?
To be honest, I'm not sure, but I will look into that and get and make sure that as part of this phase, so just for context, what we're doing tonight is we're gathering feedback, and so we will capture a list of the comments that we have, and we will ensure that we provide an answer to you, but it will not necessarily be, well, I'll get to the next step slide so you'll know when you are expected to
Okay.
get an answer. But while I'm speaking, if you don't mind putting your contact information, your name, email address, um, that would be great. That way I can capture your comments.
In the chat?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank
But
you.
these are great questions. Okay, so the plan recommends 28% um, of this geography evolve into a different type of development than what exists today. So, for example, to help meet the geography's goals that I mentioned earlier for the future, some vacant or undeveloped sites are recommended to develop into community activity centers. So, for example, this place type change will add new mixed-use development to the recommended areas, strategically providing access to new housing, jobs, goods, and services. Additionally, new development is expected to provide all mobility, open space, and placemaking elements necessary for us to achieve that aspiration in the policy map and the comprehensive plan. Other pages in Chapter 4 explain how recommended change helps advance the geography's priority goals, as I was mentioning previously, and address their greatest need. So these are some of the goals, for example, that the recommended change from vacant or undeveloped land to community activity center. These goals, such as Goal 1, 10-minute neighborhoods, that encourages a mix of residential and non-residential uses within a centralized and interconnected development. And there are a number of other goals that that particular action would further. Chapter 5, Supporting the Vision, includes 5 sections and references the Neighborhood Toolkit. The Neighborhood Toolkit is included within the appendix because it's a reference for all geographies. The toolkit catalogs all the great programs that are currently available to residents to help address their needs. The intent is that it's a resource to empower neighborhoods who want to take some action, such as exploring opportunities to amenitize a common open space or create a neighborhood park. Now, the mobility section, that was developed in coordination with the Charlotte Department of Transportation, CATS, and the CRTPO, which is the Charlotte Regional um, and Transportation Planning Organization, directly out of the Planning Department. Basically, if I had to summarize this chapter, it is restating that Goal 5, safe and equitable mobility, is important across all of Charlotte. It also includes this clip of the streets map, which outlines future cross sections for arterial streets in Charlotte. Now, the mobility section also summarizes the citywide strategic mobility plan that I referenced earlier, and it also highlights the strategic investment areas within the geography. Now, just as a reminder from an earlier portion of the presentation, the strategic mobility plan is at the level 2 guidance that is outlined in that pyramid that I showed earlier. Hello, Alvin. Welcome and thank you for joining us. We are in the middle of the presentation for West Outer. And again,
Hi,
my name is Tolu. Welcome.
thank you. Thank you, Total.
You're welcome. The next part of the mobility section includes a new level of guidance that we haven't had before, and I'm really excited about this section. It's called the mobility assessment. This assessment basically it evaluates how well our future mixed-use places are meeting our aspirations, as outlined in the place type descriptions. Now, these assessments should be used by everyone, basically, residents, developers, city officials, to inform future development infrastructure projects. So, for example, streetscape improvements, such as sidewalks, bike lanes, things of that nature within these areas. The next section is the environmental justice and sustainability. It builds on the comprehensive plan's vision to reduce environmental impacts across the city. This section provides more detailed analysis of the environmental impacts within the plan geography. And these assessment dials, these are unique to each community area plan. So this is basically an assessment talking about what are some of those opportunities that we see to improve? So is it tree canopy? Is it reducing or is it related to impervious surface or proximity to heavy industrial uses, things of that nature? It also introduces heat impacts as a new environmental metric that wasn't something that we did before, and that should be considered in future decision making. So when we're talking about heat impacts, we're talking about areas of the city that perhaps may not have a dense tree canopy, which, as we know, trees provide oxygen and they cool the environment. So thinking about some of the next steps and after adoption, pardon me, plans are implemented multiple ways. The private and public sector both have a role to play. Plans may be implemented through private development, private-public partnerships, capital improvement plans, and rezonings. Community area plans are an important component of Charlotte's planning framework, but they are not the only tool we have in our toolbox, as I was referencing earlier to you, Ms. Gray. We also have specific plans in our toolbox, which focuses on smaller geographies and more implementation focused. We have the ability to develop this guidance if and when needed across the city. So just keep in mind that planning is cyclical. We plan to monitor and update recent plans every 8 to 10 years. So that would include the comprehensive plan and the community area plans. The next steps, just as a heads up, because we currently are in our public comment period, and that period closes this Friday, July 18th. So if you have any comments tonight, we are going to capture that. And then even after this evening, we are having another webinar tomorrow in the middle of the day between 11 to 1. And so please tell your family, your friends, even strangers, share, spread the word. And then throughout the week, you can utilize our website to leave any comments that you have within each specific plan, and those will also be captured. Now, Friday, July 25th, comments and staff responses will be posted on the project website. So, Ms. Gray, earlier when I was saying, you will get a response, July 25th is the time that you would receive that feedback. And then Monday, August 4th, staff is expected to present to the Transportation Planning and Development Committee. And just as an FYI, if you're not familiar with that committee, that's a committee of council members that are honing in on these particular topics. Now, as far as a public hearing or a council decision, that date is to be determined. So please make sure you're checking your emails, you're paying attention to our socials so that you're aware of that opportunity. Now, if you have any questions, or like I said, if you want to continue to provide feedback, if you use your cell phone and your cell phone's camera and scan the QR code here, it'll take you directly to the website, or you could also just take a quick picture of it if that's easier, and then you can refer back to cltgov.me/CLT future, which is listed here on the screen. And I'll pause a moment to give everyone a chance to do that. Let me know when you're ready, please. Okay. This is some of the information I was just referring to where you all have an opportunity to provide feedback. Thank you for participating again in this virtual open house and providing feedback on the draft plans. Now, we will also be having office hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays, they are from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursdays, they are from 3 to 5 p.m. And we do have hard copies of all of the plans at all of the libraries that you all have the opportunity to refer to as well. We did have a public hearing on May 12th. Again, those plans haven't been adopted. We're still in the public comment phase. And then if you have any other questions, I'm going to open the floor for us to discuss and answer any questions you have. Thank you.
So I know I heard what you said about us going to public meetings,
Yes.
and making our comments. But one of the concerns that people brought up at the meeting I was at before is how much does the planning department actually step in and say, hey, this isn't in alignment with our plan. So when someone asks to do zoning, they would reject it because it's not in alignment with the plan, as opposed to someone from the public coming and saying that.
Well, from what we do, if the proposal is inconsistent with the 2040 policy map, that multicolored, and I'm going to actually share my screen so you can see, because I know Alvin joined. Um,
Yeah,
Let me go back. Sorry, the computer is lagging.
that's fine.
Okay. Oh, I guess I was going too fast. Ah, technology.
All right.
Okay. It okay. So what I was referencing previously, let's see. Okay, can you see the screen with the
Yes.
map? Okay, great. So to your question, to your point, um, whenever there is a proposal, a rezoning proposal, and it's conditional, meaning that the developer is proposing to rezone and attach conditions to mitigate any impacts it has on adjacent or nearby properties,
Mhm.
um, or to ensure a certain level of quality. Staff, long-range planning staff, so the staff that are leading these webinars tonight, and some who are home as well, we write a memo and we call it basically a memo, a long-range planning memo that explains on one page, basically, if what's being proposed is consistent with the 2040 policy map. And if it is not, we say that. So if it's inconsistent, it's in bold. And then we explain in the event that council, because at the end of the day, it's not the planning department's decision. It's up to city council to approve or deny a proposal. But
Mhm.
in the event that they approve it and it's inconsistent with the policy map, it does still express in what ways the proposal still does further the comprehensive plan. So it'll list the goals that apply to it. Um, and then it also will include some elements related to the proposal that further it. So in summary, does the planning department step in and say whether a proposal is consistent or inconsistent? Yes, we do from on the long range planning side. Now, I don't want to mislead you because the department is large and so we have multiple divisions, okay? So in addition to the long range planning division, we also have entitlement services, which a portion of them are basically rezoning staff. And they're the ones who bring those rezoning proposals before planning committee and before city council. Sometimes, so they also write something called a consistency statement. And just being completely transparent, sometimes their recommendation is may still be for a proposal, even if it's inconsistent with the policy map. But you will not see that happening in a memo that is written by long-range planning staff. They have a different set of criteria that they review proposals against, specifically the Unified Development Ordinance, which is the regulatory side. And for Alvin, I explained this previously. So the comprehensive plan and the 2040 plan policy map, and then the community area plans. Um, while the community area plans have not been adopted, if they are adopted, all of those three elements that I mentioned are policy documents. Okay, they are not law. So they are
Mhm.
recommendations for how we should grow and develop. Now, what is the law is the UDO, the Unified Development Ordinance. The UDO is a
Mm.
regulatory tool that we use to enforce those policy documents that I was just referencing. So when the rezoning staff or entitlement staff are reviewing proposals, they're using the UDO as a criteria. I know I
Okay.
said a lot. I'll pause for questions or follow-up concerns or anything like that.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, let me ask you too. In regards to the zone that I'm actually in, um, I normally do a lot of work out of Charlotte Douglas International Airport. I'm in transportation, and I know the 2040 has a lot of areas towards the airport, which is actually doing a lot of improvement at the moment. I know the project started in 2015, all that stuff. Um, and I'm really apologizing too because I do have it in mind long time ago, but because of my position with my company, it's really hard to keep up with, the schedule and all that stuff. So, um, but the airport is actually one of my main interests, and I'm actually into this. I live into this area as well, so it could be my cup of tea, so to speak. So the reason why I so interested about what the future is of with 2040, um, the airport, it's really one of my main subject, one of my eyes uh, of the prize, so to speak, because it's my money making, my bread and butter, so to speak. Um, and my question to you is, if I actually want to make a proposal for the airport, um, how do I go about doing that? Do I actually openly make the proposal in the meeting, or do I have a chart? Do I draw anything, or what? How do I come across making something that could really be a better idea for this project?
Just so I want to make sure I understand your question. So are you
Mhm.
asking as it relates to future development within the airport boundary, what is a procedure for someone to propose a development for the airport? Is that your question?
Yes,
Okay.
perfect. Yes.
So what
Mhm.
I can do is if you could please give me your name, put your full name in the chat as well as your
Okay.
email address, and I
Mhm.
can put that question in our spreadsheet because we are tracking all of these comments, and that's also why these meetings are recorded so that we can go back and make sure we captured everything. And
Okay.
one of our partners at the airport will reach out to you related to that. Okay?
Oh, okay, great. All
Because
right.
it's just it, and
Mhm.
I'm also saying that because it's separate from what we're doing here tonight, which is related to community area planning for the
Okay.
West Outer geography, and I recognize that the airport is within that geography. So,
Right.
are there additional questions that you have related to anything I presented tonight related to the West Outer community area plan?
Mhm. Um, yeah, there's something else, but my list is really long. I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
Um, because I don't know. I've been transplanted to Charlotte about 17 years ago. I noticed that there's so many developments going on. You turn around, it's different areas. Sometimes the GPS can hardly keep up with what's going on. But my intention is to really help the city because I'm very optimistic, and there's a lot of proposal that I do have in mind. I think I'm really talented for that, and I just want to share my gift. I should be on a transportation coming to you, but I'm actually in a different area than it's still transportation, but I'm in a different area um, that I serve on as uh, I'm actually a volunteer on the PVH board. Um, but I'm trying to see if sorry if I'm jumbling this. You might not understand my intentions, but what I'm trying to do is to whatever I'm actually focusing on in regards to any kind of improvement, the airport or wherever. I just want to have a mainstream where I can, whatever idea I could send a proposal to it. Um, I could draw art, something like that, and come up with an idea how we can go about certain areas, especially around the airport, within the airport, and around the airport as well.
Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing your comments.
Hmm.
In the interest of time, just doing a time check, we've got 20 minutes left and we do have a hard stop at 6 o'clock so that we can transition over to the next geography.
Okay.
Miss, is it Eva or Ava? I want to make sure I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Do you have any comments or
Eva.
questions?
No, I pretty much just called in just to kind of learn what this is and, so I appreciate you doing this presentation.
Oh, my pleasure. Miss Gray? Oh, you're muted here. Let me unmute you. Here we go. Let's see. Um,
Yeah, I got it.
okay.
So it sounds, like I do need to do a little more looking because it looks like there's only two types of neighborhoods. So would a condos fit into the same neighborhood as say, you know, single family homes or
It depends because there are different condo structures, which I'm not necessarily an expert on. And so when I say different condo structures, for example, there could be a single family development technically that ha is built on that has a condo structure. So I think what you're asking is, could you have multifamily within a single family residential neighborhood? And the answer is yes. So um, let me stop sharing. So neighborhood one, and I'm going to pull up, I'm going to share my screen again. Can you all see the website here? And it
I see
says,
Yes.
it.
great. Okay. So I'm just going to go from the beginning. So and I'm going to put this in the chat too, so you all can
Mhm.
access it in your free time. So when you get to, this is the Charlotte Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan website, and this is where basically the plan lives. The documents are broken up into three: plan, policy, implementation strategy, and manuals and metrics. What you want to click on is the plan policy. And then if you click on these little radio dials here, if you click on vision, place types, or complete communities, policy framework, you will see all of the content that is under the umbrella. So your question is related to neighborhood one place type. So this is the definition or the goal. Neighborhood one provides places for neighborhoods with a variety of housing types where single family housing is still the predominant use. So what that means is you'll still see primarily single family neighborhoods. However, it does allow for duplexes, triplexes, quadruplexes. So I'm sure you've seen duplexes before. You see a lot of them in the older parts of Charlotte, um, Dilworth, Plaza Midwood, and oftentimes you can't even tell that it's not a single family neighborhood because of the character of the building and the homes. So there is a way to do it that's
Mhm.
tasteful in a way that is still in keeping with the character of the rest of the neighborhood. And that's what the intent of this comp plan is, and specifically neighborhood one, because of the uh, fast, rapid pace of population growth, um, we recognize the need to preserve our neighborhood character, like single family neighborhood character, while still allowing those smaller, I guess, would be considered uh, small multifamily homes or accessory dwelling unit homes or ADUs, which is, I'm sure you've heard of it, but for example, you might have a single family home fronting the street, and then in the rear of the single family home, you might have what is was formerly a detached garage that the property
Mhm.
owner has gone through the proper permitting process through the city to convert it into a guest suite, a mother-in-law suite, something like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is not really what we're seeing in our area. We're seeing big developments are coming in
Yes.
here, and
Mhm.
there are many, many, like 80 or, some amount of homes in that area. And our area, like at the last meeting, we were talking, it's like the traffic is crazy, and and I'm wondering if this is just a whole Charlotte thing that we just really can't keep up with the growth because we're allowing the condos to go in and the townhomes to go in, but yet we don't have the structure to support
The
it,
infrastructure, yeah,
the infrastructure.
yeah,
Well, a lot of it is because, as I mentioned, it's the pace. So it is happening citywide, honestly.
Yeah.
hmm
Um, and the comprehensive plan was just adopted um, in 2021. So, and then the policy map followed, and then the Unified Development Ordinance followed after that. And so this is the comprehensive plan, the current one is the first one that the city has ever had. That is a citywide comprehensive plan. Before that, you had small area plans in some neighborhoods, but there was not a systematic approach to doing long-range planning, honestly, citywide. And
hmm
so, in all honesty and being transparent, with change comes growing pains. And because everything's happening so fast, we're trying our best to keep up.
Yeah.
hmm
And in doing that, that's why the planning department is leans on the comp plan, leans on the 2040 policy map, and is working and utilizes the UDO to ensure that the whatever new development or redevelopment is coming in is consistent with what's being developed. Now, and I mentioned this earlier to Miss Gray and Miss Eva. Alvin, I don't think you were on yet, but
Okay.
when you see those rezoning signs, Miss Gray referenced earlier, it's like these big yellow rezoning signs and then
Right.
the text is blue. That is
That's
your
it.
right as a resident to go to those public hearings. Whenever you see those, that means there's going to be a public hearing for that petition. It is your right as a resident, business owner, what have you, stakeholder, to attend those planning committee and city council public hearings and to be clear, um, planning committee meetings are open to the public, but I'm specifically referring to the city council public hearing where you all can go and speak whether you're for or against a proposal. So to Ms. Gray's point, if there is a proposal that's coming to the West Outer geography and you have looked at the policy map and you know for a fact that it is inconsistent with the N1 place type that you see on the policy map, then you have the right to speak up and say, I don't support this because it's inconsistent. And you can ask those tough questions. What's the plan for the infrastructure improvements? Is the developer going to do a traffic impact analysis? Things of that nature. Are there amenities that are coming with the proposed development? Things like that.
Right.
Now, there are a few things that I wanted to make sure I called everyone's attention to before we had to end. Um, Let me move this out of the way. Now, has everyone seen or accessed this page? Can you see it? It's the Charlotte Future 2040 Community Area Planning page. I see a
hmm
yes from Miss Gray. Alvin, have you?
No, not this one.
Okay, so
Not
I'm
this
going to put this link in the chat for you to access.
one. Okay.
because this is a copy. This is why we're here tonight. These are the draft. We're going over the draft 14 community area plans that are citywide area plans for the 14 individual geographies. And you can click on any one. So for ours tonight, we are looking at West Outer. So you can look at the plan, read it. I highly recommend that you read this plan, any of the
Okay.
14 area plans. Um, Provide comments. You see these little numbers here? When we're saying if you want to provide comments on the plans, this is what we're referring to. So you can click anywhere. So let's say, let me click off of that. Let's say you have a comment for this paragraph. You just click on it, you type in your name, first and last name, and your email address. Now, let's be honest. Sometimes if you're filling out a survey, you want to be anonymous, right? Um, but if I don't recommend that you do that here, that you actually use your real name and your real email address, because then if you leave a comment or if you have a question, this is the only way we can respond to you and provide that answer. If you leave a fake name and a fake email address, you won't get your answer. So,
Yeah.
um,
Makes sense.
and then I'm going to show you the program guide. So this is a program guide that really explains to you how to read the community area plans and what's in them. And it explains the community engagement process in more detail. So I know, for example, we've done, you saw the presentation earlier where I summarized the level of engagement and the results that we received. Um, but unfortunately, sometimes people say, "Oh, I haven't heard about this. I didn't know anything about it." Was there engagement? Well, it explains all the engagement that we had in here. It explains the goals, the place types, the vision, our different partners. So I highly recommend to Miss Gray's initial questions about neighborhood one, it breaks down every single place type and it compares it so you understand what it is. And
Right.
also the regulatory example that I use with the UDO that's listed here and under implementation. So you have a lot of information that context that you need. Then oh, and this is another part that's really important. It's how these plans affect you, and so it really breaks it down. Then, if you want to look at more of the context and the meat and the process, we have appendices here that are for all of the plans. And so, what I love about this appendices is it also includes the neighborhood toolkit, which to your point, Mr. Alvin, you were talking about, how do I get more involved and things of that nature. A lot of your questions or answers are probably in here.
Okay.
And it has, the website to whatever question or you have,
Mhm.
and different grant opportunities. So all of the City of Charlotte programs basically are listed in here.
Okay.
Now, earlier in the presentation, I talked about the equitable growth framework. It talks about that here in more detail. And I know I'm kind of moving quickly, but that's really what I wanted to show you. So if I really, really, really can't encourage you enough to go through this website because it tells you a lot. Then
Mhm.
some other things that you can do, YouTube University, okay?
Okay.
Um, The city of Charlotte is all over YouTube. So you can
Mhm.
watch any past city council presentation. I mentioned the Transportation Planning and Development or TPD committee meeting. TPD, I know Alvin, you may not have heard this, is made up
Mhm.
of council members. They break up into smaller committees so that they can focus on specific topics. And
Mhm.
you can watch those past presentations. Now, this is our department's YouTube channel, and you can find
Mhm.
all of the training videos, anything about community area plans. It's also translated in Spanish,
Mhm.
UDO presentations, all sorts of things are under here.
Okay.
And then uh, I won't start that. That's a UDO video. And then I also bookmark this because sometimes I just don't remember. So you see this little star right here? You can
Mhm.
bookmark it so it's easy to access.
Right,
And
right.
then I also have City of Charlotte YouTube.
Okay.
Okay, so
I'm on
here's
that every
another one.
day.
So I'm going to put this in the chat.
Yeah, thanks.
There we go.
Yeah, that's my bread and butter right there.
Okay,
Thank
there's
you.
lots of
Mhm.
information up here. And then I'm going to do the
Absolutely.
same thing for the CLT planning videos.
Mhm.
Now, let's say you are not familiar with, and I know that's not the case here because you're a resident of West Outer, but let's say you have a friend that doesn't know, where what their CAP geography or community area plan geography is. Well, you can go to this website, and I'm going to put that in here too,
Mhm.
and look it up. It says find your address. So we'll say the government center, 600 um, East
Fort Street.
4th Street. Thank you. I had a moment there. Uh,
That's fine.
Charlotte. Okay. And boom, guess what?
It
It's
shows.
not in a geography. The Uptown technically is the 15th area, but Uptown
Mhm.
already has its own area plan, so that's why
Mhm.
it doesn't necessarily have a color code.
Oh,
But you get the concept. If there's any address here, you could just look it up and it'll take you there. So we've got
okay.
4 minutes remaining. We have a hard stop at 6. So are there any last remaining questions or concerns? No?
I do, but
Yeah.
mine is over 4 minutes.
Okay, okay. Well, sir, if you haven't yet, please feel free to put your name, your full name, and your email address
Okay.
so that I can, staff, not necessarily me, can provide an answer to you.
Mhm.
Miss Eva, could you do the same thing if you have any questions, please?
Sure.
Thank you.